Okay, welcome back to our discussion on social choice theory. In this video, we will scrutinize the plurality under IIA, Pareto, and Monotonicity. For the IIA, the idea is if a re-election is held with the same ballots and non-winning candidates are removed, the previous winner should still win. In other words, if we remove the non-winning candidates, we should have the same winner. Now let's see if plurality satisfies the IIA criterion. Consider this preferential table. Notice that the winner by plurality is McDonald's with 8 first place votes. All other candidates, Jollibee, KFC, and Burger King, are all non-winning candidates. Now let's see what will happen if we remove the non-winning candidate Burger King. The resulting preferential table will be this. Notice that now Jollibee has 9 first place votes. So we see that in the previous table, McDonald's is the winner by plurality. In the new table, after removing the non-winning candidate Burger King, Jollibee became the winner by plurality. So what does this tell us? This tells us that plurality does not always satisfy the IIA criteria. We saw in our previous example that the previous winner is McDonald's, but after removing the non-winning candidate Burger King, Jollibee became the winner. So we see that plurality does not always satisfy the IIA criteria. Now let's compare plurality with Pareto criterion. For the Pareto criterion, if every voter prefers candidate A over candidate B, then it should be impossible for candidate B to win the election. So this means that everyone prefers candidate A over candidate B, then it should be impossible for the second candidate to win the election. This is credited after Wilfredo Pareto, an Italian economist. Now let's see if plurality satisfies the Pareto criterion. For illustration, suppose that we have this many voters, 25, 32, 17, 30, and 45. Notice that every voter prefers candidate A over candidate B. Now notice that in this scenario, candidate B does not have any first place votes. So what can we conclude out of this? Is it possible for candidate B to win under plurality? Take note that in plurality, we are only considering the first place votes. So because candidate B does not have any first place votes, then it is impossible for candidate B to win under plurality method. So as you observe, everyone prefers candidate A over candidate B, hence candidate B has no first place votes, and therefore it is impossible for candidate B to win under plurality. So in our table, we see that plurality always satisfies the Pareto criteria. Okay, next, let's scrutinize the plurality method under monotonicity. According to the monotonicity criterion, it should be impossible for a winning candidate to lose in a re-election if the only changes in the votes were changes that were favorable to that candidate. In other words, if the changes that we will make is only favorable to the winning candidate, then the re-election would result with the same winner. Now let's see if the plurality method satisfies the monotonicity criteria. Let's take a look at our preferential table. Okay? So in this case, the winner by plurality is McDonald's. Now, let's take a look at these two voters. Notice that these two voters put Burger King first, followed by Jollibee, followed by McDonald's, followed by KFC. Now, suppose that two voters change their mind and we rank McDonald's as their first choice. So, the result, let's say the result should be this. So notice that this change is favorable only to McDonald's. And notice that McDonald's still wins by plurality. So in this case, the plurality method satisfies monotonicity criterion always. That is, if the changes that we made are only favorable to the winning candidate, then that winning candidate still wins by plurality. So these are the five fairness criteria that we discussed, or these are the five fairness criteria by which we measure the fairness of plurality. There are also other fairness criteria like all voters should be treated equally, all candidates should be treated equally. There's also unanimity. There's also non-dictatorship. But we do not anymore measure plurality under this fairness criteria.